So, during the duration of me going back and forth to court, I never got on the witness stand. Nobody else ever got on the witness stand. The courts never spoke with anyone. Um, they just basically just charged me. Like, there was no trial. There was no, um, where, like, there was like literally no court. Like, there was no court. Everything was done behind the scenes. Um, Literally, like, I never spoke to the prosecutor until the day that I signed for me to get my time. um but as far as like as while I was waiting for the sentencing and stuff, there was never he never spoke on the witness stand. I never spoke on the witness stand. No witnesses ever spoke on the witness stand. Like, there was never a court appearance. Like, when I say everything was done behind the scenes, basically, I guess it was my attorney, the judge and the prosecutor and whoever else that was on the case. They were basically speaking amongst each other on my sentencing, and what was going to happen with me and how they was going to handle the case. um there was not a proper investigation. So they basically just took his statement and charged me. My attorney kept trying to get me to sign for the 10-year sentence and agree to taking the charges. And I kept telling them that I wanted to take it to trial. My attorney told me I didn't have trial money, so I couldn't take it to trial because he was asking me for a whole lot of money that I did not have. And so he was like, you just take the 10-year sentence and we're going to take you back up for probation, and you just do the rest on probation. You do some time in and then we'll take you back up for probation. And I still didn't want to do that. um I still wanted to take it to trial, and he kept telling me that the prosecutor hated me, and that was true. The prosecutor did hate me. The prosecutor that was on the case, every time he seen me, he was mugging me. Like, he was mugging me. He looked at me with hate in his eyes. um my dad was telling me, just go ahead and sign for the time and we're gonna get you back out. The day that I was supposed to sign for my time, um, my attorney actually didn't show up. He sent his son, who is also an attorney. I had one of the best attorneys in the city. Everybody know who he is. Um, so the son showed up and he got frustrated with me, and he was like, if you don't sign for this time, we just gonna go ahead and let them give you the 25 years, because I'm telling you right now, the jury is not don't want to hear nothing you gotta say. Like, nobody wants to hear anything you have to say. And I knew then I wasn't gonna win. So I ended up signing for the 10-year sentence. And they gave me some time. I think it was like 30 days to go home, love on my family, which I didn't have family to love on. Um, Spend time with them, and then I had to turn myself in after those 30 days. So after the 30 days, I ended up going to jail. They processed me in. Um, I had been there for a few months, and my attorney was taking me back and forth to court to try to get them to basically let me out on probation. I had only been there for like a few months before he took me back up for probation, and the judge kept denying it. Um, so they have this thing where they would allow the actual jail to take you up for parole. So the jail called me in for parole, and they denied me of my parole because my sister showed up to my parole hearing, and she said some things in my parole hearing that prevented me from getting from them allowing me to get out on parole. So when I spoke to when I had to go back to the parole board, and they sat me down and let me know we did not accept you to go for parole, to go out on parole, and this is why. My sister, because of what my sister said, um, it prevented me from going out on parole, and so I was actually happy of that, because when you go out on parole through the jail, there's like really, really, really strict stipulations that they put up on you, and it very strict. So I was mad because of it, but like they say, what the devil mean for bad, God gonna always turn it for your good. So I'm glad that didn't work out. Fast forward, I go back to the dorm and let my dad know I didn't go up. They didn't accept me for parole there. So a few months later, we ended up going back to court, and the judge kept denying me again. So eventually, the judge finally, because the judge had cancer, and so they was trying to get the judge to allow me out on probation before he retired, because they knew that if the prosecutor that was on my case, the one that hated me, he was supposed to step up and become the judge. And they knew, my attorney knew, that if he stepped up and become the judge, I wasn't going to get out. I would have had to do that whole 10-year sentence. And that's how God worked. And that's why I give all glory to God, because it, in this case, it was nobody but God. You cannot tell me it was nobody but God. They kept denying me. The judge that was on my case was stepping down, and the prosecutor that was on my case that hated my guts never heard me open my mouth. He stepped up as the judge. So the judge ended up, um before he retired, the judge ended up accepting me to go out on probation. So by this time, I had been in jail for like a little bit over a year. Um, so he signed off for me to go out on probation, and instead of him having me to do the whole 8 years on probation, he said, you're gonna finish 2 years in jail, and then you can do 5 years on paper. So he was taking 3 years off of my sentence, um, and just allowing me to do 5 years on paper. The 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 paperwork is there. The proof is there. Um, so once the judge signed off on it, I went back to the jail to complete the full 2 years, and then when I got out of jail, once I did the 2 years, I got out of jail. They gave me my paperwork, and on the paperwork, it had where the prosecutor that was on the case, he scratched out the 5 and put a 8. So he basically forced me to do the whole 8 years. So I went to my attorney office and I said, hey, the judge said I only had to do 5 years on paper, but this judge scratched it out and put 8 years on his paper. And he said, oh, that was a mistake. So he ended up correcting it. So I knew what was up, but I didn't argue with it, because one, I'm free. Like, I'm free. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did the whole 8 years on paper, didn't get in trouble, didn't do nothing. Like the devil was testing me real bad while I was on probation. When I got off probation, it wasn't no more tests. Like, it wasn't no more tests. Like, everybody, like, it was people that was trying to force me to violate my probation. I did not violate my probation. Um, I knocked that probation out the park. I literally did. I went to school during the process. I went to college during the process of me being on probation. Went to medical school, went to hair school, got my medical degree, all of that, all while I was on probation.